Hello.
Good
Girls.
afternoon. My God, do you know what? I've had such a lazy day. I don't know what time of day it is.
Girls. Yes, I know we're very lazy, but we have a man in the nest. I'm very
I feel like I
excited.
might be eaten alive.
Oh, yeah. we have a man in the nest.
One by one, we will do this thing.
Simon, I've wanted to do that to you for ages. I mean, for life.
Thank you so much for having me, and thank you, girls. You are absolutely Wonderbirds.
Well, our guest today is the wonderful Simon Withington, and we've all worked with you, haven't we, darling?
Well, all but Natalie, actually, all but Natalie. And
yes.
we
Why
must
not,
remedy that, Natalie.
Why hasn't Natalie worked with you yet?
Is there
I don't know.
Will I get in there at some point? Why haven't I worked with you?
You must. It's time. But I'm seeing you next weekend at your lovely new show.
Oh dear.
Yes. We opened in Wonderbirds, I nearly said. Calendar Girls on Thursday. Natalie and I are delirious, aren't we, Nat?
Well, delirious because we're having such a brilliant time. Absolutely. It's just the best cast ever. We're having a ball. But it was really tiring week 12, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Very tiring and it's just so much fun. It's so much fun.
I know. Yes. I love the film. Didn't you, Simon?
Oh, yeah. It is iconic, actually. It really is.
It is.
I think the play is better than the film and better than the musical. I think it's the best of the bunch.
Mm-hmm.
Really?
It's just extraordinary how it turns. It can make you cry one minute and laugh the next, and it's very emotional, but it leaves you feeling very, very good about life.
That's brilliant. You know, Simon, I'm coming to see it with you on Saturday.
Oh, fantastic. And I'm bringing Jess Conrad with me on Saturday as well, the one and only Jess Conrad, whose book I've just written.
You have?
Cue the book. Well, I wrote it with him. It was a very long and arduous process, shall we say. We did it in lockdown together, and I went to his house, socially distanced most weekends, and he sat at one end of his little log cabin in his garden, and I sat at the other end typing away furiously. And finally, we got there. I mean, it was 3 years. It's a labor of love, but it is effectively Jess Conrad's life story in lovely hardback, and it's a really nice feeling book. And I'm so
very proud of you, Simon. It's probably an A to Z of showbiz, isn't it?
It is. There are not many names that aren't left that aren't mentioned. So he's known everybody. He's been in showbiz what feels like 100 years, and you've worked with him. You're in The Body in the Library with him, Debbie.
I was, but I've known him since I was a little girl. He'll hate that because he was
the Miss Marple, was it? The
very first Miss Marple they ever did, The Body in the Library, and I had a lovely part in that.
And my father-in-law was in it too. Raymond Francis.
Was he?
That's the Francis angle. Yes.
There you go.
Yes.
And I remember, Jess, it was probably 30 or 40 years ago, Simon, being on tour with Ian Lavender in a Fado farce, and actually going into a cafe and seeing Jess Conrad sitting there, and I thought, my God, he looks good for his age then.
I know. And he looks even better now, and he's 88. He's somehow reversing. I don't know how he's doing it, but he looks fantastic.
Absolutely amazing. He's just brilliant, and a great sort of charisma about him as well.
Well, it's an odd friendship because I met him first when I was a little researcher in TV. I was sent to do a program called 40 Years of Freddie Starr. Yes,
just the thought of that, Simon. 40 years.
There's a program that wouldn't get made anymore. Yes, and I got sent to various homes of celebrities who were. The idea was that they'd say terrible things about Freddie Starr, and because he's such a rotter. And I got sent to Vince Hill's home, and I got sent to Faith Brown's home, and I got sent to Jess Conrad's home. And after I'd been there, he made such an impression on me. I called my mother. I said, "Who the hell is Jess Conrad?" don't forget there was no internet then, so I didn't have any, way of looking him up, as it were. And she said, well, I was a Rolling Stones girl, so I wasn't a Jess Conrad fan, but I know exactly who he is. And we just stayed in contact from there. And my boss at the time was Nigel Lithgow. He was the head of entertainment at LWT, and he held his 50th birthday party the week after. And Jess was there, along with a load of other big names like Shirley Bassey and Cilla Black. And from that moment, we became friends. And here I am 25 years later, having just helped him write his book. But the book is his words. They're not my words. I'm kind of chief secretary.
Where do you begin? Where do you start? Do you just ask questions in chronological order, or couldn't even say that? Chronological. That's kind of weird.
Well, it's a very good question, because I started with a dictaphone.
No, do use your finger like everybody else.
I thought somebody would do that one. And it was you, Debbie. And it was you. So I started that way, and then it all came out, of course, gobbledygook, because when you just sort of spout memories, then it's all a bit of this and a bit of that, and it's not quite honed into the right order. So I said, look, we've got no choice but for me to do it sentence by sentence. So he literally dictated the book to me, and it took forever. And I thought, I'll never get this done. But I had his IMDb. I knew his career anyway, because I've known him so long, and I could just guide him through it. I said, okay, now we got to the end, and I said, you did a tour with Kathy Kirby in the late 60s. We've got to put that in. So we then added another chapter in. It was a bit piecemeal, but I got it all into a chronological order at the end, and just kind of, we worked our way through it, really. But it was a really bonding process, writing a book, because I'm not an author, as you know. I mean, I barely string a sentence together, as you can tell. But we did it. We did it. And I'm so proud that we did.
Now then, let's talk about you.
Yes.
Yes. So, Simon, we've started. Now we're writing your book, aren't we? We started. You were a researcher at LWT. Then
yes.
What?
Well, I was in the entertainment department, which was very, very glitzy in those days. As you'll all remember, it was the home of Surprise, Surprise and the Audiences With and Gladiators. It was the 90s. It was big studio glossy entertainment shows. And somehow I got my way into there, because I didn't have a foot in the door in TV. I did a TV production degree at university, and I started as work experience on a channel called Talk TV, which was based at the LWT studios. Now, not the Talk TV we all know and love now, the one with Piers Morgan, but Talk TV then had a very young Natasha Kaplinsky and a very young Sacha Baron Cohen, and they were all getting their start in TV. And I was a jack of all trades there. I was Showbiz Simon, which is my nickname to this day. Showbiz Simon, roving reporter. I was operating cameras. I was floor managing. I was editing. It was a bit of everything. It was a really great training ground, and I loved it. I wished it would never end, but it did end after a year. It was obviously too expensive to make, and it was the early days of multi-channel. Today, of course, it would be thriving, but back then there were very few channels, and it was sort of sink or swim. But because I was in that building at that time, I got my foot in the door and got my first entertainment job, which was working for Dennis Norden.
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
So I was a researcher on It'll Be All Right on the Night, and then within 5 years, I was producing it, age 28, to 10 million viewers on ITV, which was unbelievable because it was a show that I grew up with. I mean, there was a time when it was on once a year and sort of 24 million people would watch it.
I used to love it.
It was
I loved
huge.
it.
Yeah, I loved
Amazing.
it.
But also, Simon, your programs now about the TV going horribly wrong, they have a very big viewership, don't they?
Well, we're often beating ITV and BBC Two and Channel 4, and the fact that they're on quite late at night means there's actually nothing on the other channels. So it's quite an easy slot actually for us. And I give them that sort of glossy feel, and I try and resurrect clips that people haven't seen for years and try and keep it fresh, because when you've been making clip shows for as long as I have, the challenge is to basically not do the same thing over and over again. I mean, I know where all the clips are buried, but I don't want to use a clip I've used before.
I
And
loved
any
it.
guesses which show Debbie Arnold was on?
Oh,
When
I
sex
know.
on TV goes horribly wrong, Debbie Arnold.
Thank you very much. And 80s TV, wasn't I? On 80s, I can't remember. I've done 3, haven't
Oh,
I?
and you did 80s TV, and you did When Soap Stars Go Horribly Wrong.
Ah,
And I
that's
remember when I did When Soap Stars Go Horribly Wrong with you, Debbie, we put the name of the soaps below each person. But because Debbie's been in every soap known to mankind, the caption was about this long.
It was.
Anybody that's been in The Stud, Natalie, I am a fan of.
You were in The Stud, Natalie.
Yes.
yeah, but disappointingly, I was the only woman in the entire thing to not take my clothes off. So
And Natalie did all those wonderful, beautiful period dramas, didn't you, in the 80s and 90s?
I did. I had a box of ringlets at the BBC, and I used to rush around and shouting, "We have to go, Papa, the train will leave without us," and things like that. And I did that sort of performance for about 20 years, and I loved it. I loved it.
Brilliant.
I couldn't be further removed from The Stud, Natalie. Let's face it.
Yeah.
I was going to say.
That was quite fun.
When period dramas go horribly wrong, that's a good
Oh
one.
my goodness!
Ooh.
Don't wish that on me. The more niche they are, the harder they are to do. I had to do one recently, which hasn't gone out yet, called When Garden Makeovers Go Horribly Wrong.
And your mum, I saw yesterday that you were with your mum, who was a fashion designer, I believe. So you had a good sort of start in life from showbiz, didn't you, Simon?
Well, I think so. I think I must have got my creative flair from somewhere. I don't know quite. And I actually met up with an old family friend who's in her 90s now, and she says, "I remember you entertaining everybody at a garden party when you were 5, and I don't know how you did it, but you had everybody just sort of in stitches type thing." So there's obviously something in one's blood when we do what we do. But my mother gave all of that up to have me, really, the fashions. So she's been very selfless, and I'm forever grateful to my mum for making sacrifices to make sure that I could do what I wanted to do.
Because you know how much all the girls love you, don't you?
Ah, well, I've got lots of very glamorous friends like you girls, and yes, I do tend to gravitate to very beautiful ladies. And I'm a lucky boy.
And how did it start, actually?
Well, it started very oddly, actually, because I got I heard that there was an archive show. I just finished at ITV. I heard that there was an archive show being made at Crackit Productions, which is the company that makes the Horribly Wrong shows. And so I wrote an email to Elaine Hackett, who is the owner of Crackit Productions, and I said, "Oh, I've heard that you're making an archive show. I've just finished doing It'll Be All Right on the Night, the #1 archive show of all time. Perhaps you'd like to meet me, and I can be your series producer." And she got back to me within 5 minutes and said, "I'd love to meet you. Come in." And I thought, "Oh my God, this is great. This is great. This is great." So I went to meet her, and she said, "I'm sorry, but I've given the series producer job to somebody else, but I'd love to have you." And I thought to myself, do I want to do it at a slightly lower level? And I deliberated about it, and I thought, well, yes, it's a good inroad, and it's something that I haven't done before. I had never done sort of like talking heads with clips before at that stage. And so I took the job, and the show that I made won an award. So I think that made my mark at the company. And then from there, we went from making one show, which was 3 hours. I thought it was a mistake when they told me it was 3 hours. It was When Magic Goes Horribly Wrong. This must be a typo. It can't be 3 hours, this program. And again, like costume dramas, I couldn't think of one outtake at the time. I was like, how the hell am I going to make this show that's 3 hours long? Anyway, we did it. It won a Focal Award for Best Use of Archive in an Entertainment Show. I didn't think it was going to win, so I didn't bother going to the award show. And then it won. And I was like, oh no, I need to start going to award shows. So yes, it went from there. We're now on series 12 and counting, and I've made 136 hours for Channel 5 of Horribly Wrong shows, which is quite a lot of TV.
I remember my first day coming out of after having my daughter, and I'd always been very skinny, and I suddenly put on loads of weight, and I was sitting next to Twiggy, and I suddenly thought, oh my God, all these years I've been very Twiggy-like, and suddenly I felt absolutely massive. And I said something to her like, "It's all your fault." that we've all got this thing about being thin, but oh, I didn't mean it. I didn't mean it. And I realised that I'd made a blooper actually by saying that to her.
When I went back to work after about 10 days after Kira was born, I was doing a voiceover with N. Rytel. This is a programme when things go horribly wrong, when you come back from after a date. Anyway, N and I were sitting in the studio and we're looking at our scripts, doing this voiceover. And he said to me, "What's going on?" And I went, "I don't know, I think there's a leak." And he looked down, he went, "It's you, it's your tits." And they just literally exploded all over the script. And it was soaking wet.
Oh my goodness. Where's the
Yes.
camera when you need one?
We are exactly.
Simon, he's still got exploding tits. We are doing Calendar Girls, darling. They explode every night.
It's
Yes,
hilarious.
John Conway came to see us the other night and he said to me, "God, I'm sitting in the front row. I hope you're not going to poke me in the eye."
How does he
I have
know?
a feeling this is going to be a very celebrity-filled audience at the Mill at Sonning. I think with all of your contacts and all of your showbiz friends, I think there's going to be a lot of star spotting to be done, which I absolutely love.
We can't
Starting
wait for you to star spot. Simon, what's coming now? What are you doing now?
Well, at the moment, I'm just cutting some international shows because my shows do sell abroad as well, which is nice because I get a little backhander when they do, which is lovely. So cutting some internationals and who knows where they'll go to. But yes, that is me. Then I'm off on holiday in May and doing some more plugging of Jess's book, which we hope to be traveling to some bookshops and doing signings and various bits and bobs like that. So all good, all good.
Where can we buy this, Simon? Where can we get it?
You can get it on Amazon. It's in hardback, paperback. It's published by Oak Tree Books. Gosh, I'm good, aren't I?
You are
Hey, look
good.
at me.
Wow.
Perhaps you should be the other side of the camera now. Or you are today.
Yeah.
Well, I had a little taste of being showbiz Simon in the 90s. And I did all sorts of things like interviewing celebrities, and they did send me to Kensington Palace when Princess Diana had died, and I did serious stories as well. So I did a bit of that, but then I thought, you know what, I prefer being the puppet master. I love doing my Horribly Wrong shows because I can choose all the wonderful people to have on them, and I love choosing people that I grew up watching that I love and respect. Like I've had people like Nanette Newman, Darren Nesbitt, I've had Ian Ogilvy, I've had all sorts of great people that I absolutely love and admire. And in those shows, because I've made so many of them, I've had 700 celebrities
Wow.
on those shows.
Please don't. I'm trying to think. There were so many bloopers. I mean, there was a fantastic blooper when I was in EastEnders, but they've probably lost all that. Was when I was working in the cafe and I had to give somebody a plate of food, and my character had very long acrylic nails and my nails melted under the plate. And so the plate was stuck on my hands.
Oh dear.
Oh no.
So I went to give this person and it just it's just
Painful.
You inadvertently served a finger buffet.
it was just and so many things, you know. But I remember there was one of John Challis, which I have seen. I saw on It'll Be All Right in the Night, and I don't know if you've ever used it with him in Doctor Who.
Oh, possibly. I'll need to dig that one out for you.
Yeah, it is really, really funny because I think he falls over. He's a really horrible character. He falls over and he goes, "Sorry, love."
It's
When he gets
quite
up.
possible. Quite possible.
Darling, one more thing I want to ask you is because we went to, I saw you at Helen Lederer's book launch on Thursday last week, and you always look so fantastic. Where do you get your suits, or is that a secret?
That's a good question. That's a good question. I've kind of got it down to ASOS, TK Maxx, or Moss Bros. I'd go cheap. I go cheap because you know why? The sorts of things I wear, nobody else wants. So they're always on the bargain rail.
But you carry them off so
when
well.
I saw a
darling.
picture of David Tennant and his wife, Georgia, in the jacket he was wearing. I thought of you. Did you see it?
Oh, the one at the Olivier's last night was amazing. Now, that definitely isn't TK Maxx.
No, but
No.
I think it's definitely a Simon suit, isn't it?
Well, the trouble is,
look out.
I bought a load of suits when I was 20 years ago or something, when I was much younger. and I've got all the quality ones, but I now sort of filling in the gaps, and I have to have to kind of stop myself because I go, actually, I've got 3 lilac suit jackets already. Stop now, because they're taking over my life, basically. So time to be sensible.
Natalie is the one, because Natalie loves shopping. That's why, well, when we were all away recently on our saga trip, people were going off to see the sights. All we were going off was to see the shops. Well, why wouldn't you?
Love shopping.
Yeah,
All I
I love
wanted to do was
shopping.
eat lobster and drink rum punch. I didn't want to go.
You like shopping as well, Natalie?
Oh, I like
Yes,
shopping a bit, but I'd much rather see turtles and tropical
Turtles?
fish and turtles and eat lobster on a. Do you remember that lunch we had on the beach? Oh, lobster and rum punch. Oh, what
God, yes.
better? Much better than shopping.
No, I'm sorry, but shopping is for me.
I love those. I love
Debbie
those.
and I are going to go out shopping, I feel. Sale shopping is my favourite. Sale
Right.
shopping.
Yeah.
I love a rummage.
Me too. Absolutely. I love finding a
So
bargain.
we'll call it, we're going to go sailing.
Yes, there you go. Best of both worlds.
Yeah, Simon and I are going sailing together. So you can make of that what you will. So we are so happy that you've joined us today. And I know that
Thank
Jess is going to be
you very,
joining
very
us.
much for having me. I really,
of
really
course, it's been
appreciate it.
Delight, darling. Absolute delight.
Let's do Jess, and he can tell you all about his book and probably talk about himself even more than I can.
Good. Excellent.
Yes, we might even ask him a question about somebody else that he would actually have no idea about.
He would have no idea. He will literally do a swerve and make it all about him.
Excellent. That's what we
He
like.
is one of a kind, isn't he? Bless his cotton socks. But,
He has children, doesn't he?
he does. He's got 2 daughters. Yeah, there is
Yeah.
a bit of family in the book, actually, a little bit of family. But it is really a show busy book because there are so many people that he has known over the years, and I'm talking proper old school Ava Gardner. People like Jane Mansfield, Diana Dawes, of course, who he was best friends with. Diana Dawes died in his arms. There's lots of very, very good stories in that book, and it really is.
You know the Diana Dawes story. It's a very interesting Diana Dawes story about her money that she left.
Yeah. There was a documentary made on Channel 4. It was called something like "What Happened to Diana Dawes' Money."
Yeah, and it's still out there or somewhere, because I knew her son very well.
Yes, Jason. Yeah.
And he spent years, and I don't know if you girls or our viewers know it, but what happened was she was very savvy with money, and she kept it in lots of different accounts, and she kept one number of the account in somewhere that the guys could find, and the other was hidden in a book in the library. And what happened was when she died, all the books were just literally given to the local junk shop, and they never found the other money. They had never found the other numbers. So somewhere, and apparently in this account, there is loads and loads of cash.
Sounds like a new reality series with a bunch of celebrities all traipsing around the country looking for Diana's money.
And that is us for today. Simon, we love you. We'll see you on Saturday.
Oh, can't
We
wait.
will.
Wait, I cannot wait. And now, because the trouble is, when you start the whole jacket thing off, you then have to continue it. So I'll have to pull a good one out of the bag for your lovely press night, which is going to be amazing. So thank you.
We can't wait to see you.
Thank you, darling. It's so lovely to see you.
Lovely to
your
see you.
mum.
Thank you.
Bye.
Thanks a million. Bye,
Bye, darling.
Bye.